holding on to what Black people needed, but also understanding that like white people are over here watching TV and Dawson's Creek and all of these other things.
Following how Sailor Got a Groove back, you would land the role as Spirit Jones on One-on-One.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you landed that particular role?
Yes, I do very clearly, that one. We all had the same agent, me, Kyla, Robert. And Kyla and I were friends. So her mom called my mom. Mm-hmm. I had actually stopped acting. Okay. Because I like school. So I had stopped and I was getting ready to start high school. And Kyla's mom called my mom and she was like, hey, Kyla got a show.
Wow.
And they need her to have a friend. So we're asking all of Kyla's friends that were in the industry to audition for the show so they can have a sense of like a real chemistry. Mm-hmm. And so had my mom not gotten that phone call, I would have never auditioned for that show. I would be somewhere in somebody's school doing something else. So that was the only reason that I started acting again. Because literally after the show was done, I did one or two things and I was like, okay, I'm going back to school. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was that. And so as a very weird, nerdy girl with different colored braids, walked into that audition and auditioned for about 2 months. And then we would have auditions together.
Was 2 months typical back then?
Not always. But I think that they really wanted to get that right. I think that it was important for them to find the right people and really have the opportunity at time. I mean, they really made sure that we also understood the process of what was happening. They would give us feedback on our auditions and all these things. They really made sure that us as characters and us, when it came to chemistry, we really understood the depth of that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was like 2 months. It started in August, a little bit before August. And we auditioned and then it was like, okay, yeah, it's time to go to work, which was cool because we really went in there with a relationship.
Right.
Even the five of us, yes, we cared about each other. We cared about life. People were growing up and having babies and starting families and, moving out. It was so much that happened in that time that we were all invested in each other's lives.
Yeah. Do you remember any guest stars or celebrity guests that was like a favorite of yours or a favorite memory?
I mean, we had so many people. I think there was like one. I remember one time we had Method Man on the show and then we had Common. And then there was one episode where it was like Floetry. Yo, that was probably the biggest one because it was like Eve, Floetry, Angie Stone. And we still had voicemails. Mm-hmm. So it was like Floetry. My mom was like, can y'all like sing and leave a voicemail on my voicemail? So it's weird to look at it now. Mm-hmm. Because never would I thought that 50 million years later, it would be the thing that would still live on. I don't think that like in that moment, it was the desire to do something really, really well. Mm-hmm. I never would have thought that like one day I'll have children who will watch these episodes over and over again, or their friends will watch them. Mm-hmm. And it will be the thing that like, young girls will come up to me and be like, yo, like, that's me. I get to be me.
So who is Spirit Jones?
Yeah.
If you can define.
I think that was interesting because she's a real person. Like outside of the show, all of these characters were real people.
Right. I think Flex said that.
Yeah.
This was his
all creation.
Real.
They're all actual people. So it's always so interesting when people say that because I'm like her name is Spirit Jones. She's a real curly haired, very interesting person. But I think that not about the person, but the thing that Spirit, like much like her name, but she represented a lot of freedom. I think that she also represented like we as Black girls can be all the things. Mm-hmm. We can do our own hair. We can make our own clothes. We could be a really loyal friend and be like, girl, this ain't that. I think it was the show had a way of really speaking to the core of who people were and affirming that thing on the inside of you mm-hmm. that goes like, we deem you valuable, which is the thing is us as people. desire so much. And I think that it spoke to that. It spoke to relationships. It spoke to friendships, because it also was like you had a dad. Men care. They care.
Yeah.
They comb hair. They do all the things. It allowed you to see what dating looks like for adults. It allowed you to see two men who are friends just trying to figure it out. And I think that's a big thing about that show. These were just people just trying to figure it out.
On our platform, we've talked to several different talents in the industry. Some who've kind of had like major roles and then kind of decided to transition on or whatever else follows. Do you think this role typecasted you? And to kind of extend it, did people think in real life that you were into the hotepery of it all, into rocks? And
I don't think that it typecast me, but I do understand that I'm very peculiar. When you meet me, out in the world, I know that I say weird things by nature. I think that, I think it was a space that allowed people to, when they tap into it, to be who they are. Mm-hmm. I think that we all want to be understood. And this was a character that had people, did really well at allowing people to feel like they were understood. And it was a privilege for me because the character also was like, oh yeah, this is not the thing that I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. I knew at a very early age that I needed to be cooking. I knew what that was for me. I also knew what that meant for my family. I knew that I come from a family of 7 generations of cooks. Mm-hmm. My great, 7 times great grandfather was a slave on a plantation. He was their cook. Mm-hmm. This is something that I feel very strongly about. And that character also, with the words my mom said, you do the thing that you love, allowed me to be like, oh, this ain't where I need to be. This is where I need to be serving people in the way that I find valuable, but also how I can care for people the most.
Now, you would do 4 seasons?
Yeah, I did 4.
Some people will want to know, why did you end up leaving that show?
I got fired. The rest of us who didn't, we all did. But I think that I think that what was happening, that was the season of television where we showed up. And in anything, people are in cycles, right? Like Black people, families, Spanish people, people are in cycles in the industry. And I think in the direction that they were trying to go, they needed to create something where this is also the time when UPN was no longer UPN and it was merging with the CW. So it's like, how do we marry these audiences? And I think that was their best effort at holding on to what Black people needed, but also understanding that white people are over here watching TV and Dawson's Creek and all of these other things. So let's merge. Make a shift that could speak to everyone.
Yeah, and that's kind of how they repositioned the show to reflect. You had some white characters now enter the storyline. How did that immediately impact you?
It allowed me, because I'm also one of those people that I like to learn the hard way. Mm-hmm. I knew that wasn't the career that I wanted or needed, but as long as it served me in that way, as long as it kept showing up for me, I would have stayed.